The poor woman in the neighborhood. In a small village nestled between two hills and crossed by a single winding road, there lived a woman named Mama Nkem. She was known by everyone in the village, not because she had riches or land, but because of her big heart. Mama Nkem lived in a tiny mud house with a leaking roof and a broken wooden door. She owned no farmland and had no husband. Her only son had gone to the city years ago in search of a better life, and she hadn't heard from him since. Her neighbors often whispered about her misfortune, shaking their heads in pity. But what set Mama Nkem apart was not her poverty, it was her joy. Every morning, she would sweep the front of her house and greet everyone who passed by with a smile. "Good morning, my child," she would say cheerfully to young and old alike. Her clothes were always clean, though old, and she often wore a colorful scarf that made her stand out among the villagers. Despite having very little, Mama Nkem was always the first to give. When a woman lost her husband, Mama Nkem was the first to arrive with a pot of pepper soup and comforting words. When a child fell sick, she would sit with the mother all night, praying and singing soft hymns. People often asked her, "Mama Nkem, why do you give so much when you have so little?" She would smile gently and say, "A full heart is better than a full pocket. God fills me so I can fill others." Some villagers didn't understand her. They called her foolish and said she was wasting what little she had. But others watched her quietly and felt something stir in their hearts, an unknown longing to be more like her. One year, the village faced a terrible drought. The river dried up, the farms failed, and hunger swept through the land like a silent wind. Families who once had plenty now had nothing. Children cried at night from hunger, and even the rich grew worried. In the midst of this hardship, Mama Nkem became a pillar in the village. Every day, she would boil a pot of watery soup and invite her neighbors to share it. "Come, even if it is just hot water, it will warm your soul," she would say with a laugh. One young girl, Amara, asked her, "Mama, how do you have food when everyone else has none?" Mama Nkem smiled and replied, "I plant kindness, and kindness always grows back." Unbeknownst to the villagers, Mama Nkem had secretly planted cassava behind her house the year before. Though it wasn't much, she harvested it carefully and used it sparingly, sharing what she had without boasting. One day something unexpected happened. A sleek black car drove into the village. It stopped in front of Mama Nkem's house, and out stepped a tall, well-dressed man with sunglasses and shiny shoes. People gathered, curious and whispering, "Who could he be?" The man knelt before Mama Nkem and removed his glasses. Tears filled his eyes. "Mama," he said, his voice trembling, "I am your son. I'm sorry it took me so long. I've been looking for you everywhere." There was silence. Then Mama Nkem rushed forward and embraced him tightly, her eyes shining with joy. Her son Obinna had indeed made it in the city. He had started as a cleaner but worked his way up to become the manager of a large company. He had never forgotten his mother's love, and he had returned to take care of her. Obinna rebuilt Mama Nkem's house. He gave jobs to the jobless youth in the village. He repaired the village well and paid for school fees of many children. But the villagers all knew, the true miracle wasn't the money. It was Mama Nkem's faith, her kindness, her patience. One of the elders stood up in the village square one day and said, "We used to think Mama Nkem was poor, but now we know she was the richest among us." Her life became a story told from house to house, from mother to daughter, father to son. She taught everyone that you don't need plenty to make a difference. You just need love, patience, and faith. Years later, when Mama Nkem passed away, the whole village wept. Her funeral was the largest the village had ever seen. They buried her beside the small cassava garden where she had once grown hope in secret. Today, in that same village, there stands a community center named Mama Nkem's House of Kindness. It is a place where the hungry are fed, children are taught, and no one is ever turned away. Her son, Obinna, visits regularly, but he never boasts. Instead, he always says, "I am the fruit of my mother's faith." And so, the story of the poor woman in the neighborhood became a legacy of love. Moral of the story: you don't need riches to be rich. True wealth is found in the heart that gives, the hands that serve, and the faith that never fails.